Hello, I'm CJ Zishik. I'm sitting here with
Antonella Francesca.
Okay, and we are far away from each other. I'm in Brooklyn. She is in Midtown, but still doesn't mean that our hatred for Trump and our desire to vape and vent on politics does not exist. So that is what I'm going to be doing, vaping and venting. I like that a lot. Okay, so what's going on today? It is August 2nd, 2018. What is going on today?
In the news, that is?
Yeah, what the fuck you think I'm talking about? Alright, I guess I'll just start. So, this has been an interesting week. Mr. Rudy Giuliani has totally made an ass of himself. And it is the best news ever, but I'm actually really, really upset with all the news shows on MSNBC and CNN. They need to stop making fun of Giuliani. They need to, because they keep on saying, like Mika this morning and Morning Joe, they just kept saying, oh, he's got to get fired. He's not doing a job. He's lost his marbles. He shouldn't be on TV. And they need to shut the fuck up and stop giving ideas to Donald Trump. Because we want him to keep running his mouth. Keep on running your mouth, Giuliani, because every single time that he opens his mouth, he puts Trump deeper and deeper into the hole of Mueller.
They're also distracting themselves and the viewers from the reality that Trump is an incompetent leader, and it doesn't matter who the hell his spokesperson is, whether it's a moron or a genius. He's an incompetent leader, and that has to be dealt with immediately.
No. His base is not going anywhere. His base is not going anywhere. He literally could do no wrong. When he was at a rally last night in I believe it was Tallahassee in Florida, and the things that were coming out of his mouth were completely incoherent, wrong, not even correct. The night before, he actually went at a rally. So 2 nights ago, he was at a rally in I think it was Virginia. Yeah, I think it was Virginia. Pretty sure. Anyway, he sat there and said, instead of talking about the hundreds of children that are at the border that can't find their parents, he's talking about how there's a attack on Christmas. In the middle of summer, he's talking about Christmas is back. Oh, we're gonna save Christmas again. I mean, he has no idea what he's talking about. And guess what? The crowd cheers and claps and loves him. And then, so yesterday, he had a rally last night, and CNN interviewed one of his supporters. And they said, so how do you feel about him, how do you feel about him standing behind this candidate, right? And she's like, I'll support anything that he says and does. Anything. And the reporter went, what if he said that, the world should get blown up? Like, it was just the most outrageous thing. And she's like, yup, I'll stand behind it. That's the way they all feel. So when it comes to Giuliani, all of his stuff, it doesn't matter what they're watching. It doesn't matter. It only matters what Mueller is watching. And his tweets and everything that is said by Giuliani and every tweet by Trump and everything that Sarah Sanders says at the podium, they are all totally viable in court to be brought up.
Right.
It's over and over and over. I've been watching these old videotapes, those old tapes of Sean Spicer at the podium at the very beginning after his inauguration, and they said, "Our tweets, are the president's tweets? Are they exact statements? Are they, should we really take them seriously?" And over and over and over, the Trump administration has said yes, they are completely worth listening to.
He said it himself. He said the reason why he tweets is that it doesn't get filtered filtered through the fake news so it doesn't get adulterated. So he gave the reason why.
Exactly.
So
he wants to skip the middleman. He wants to skip the media and talk right to the
right.
people. And they are completely usable in the court of law. And so we need to stop. So there's part of me that feels, and this is very interesting. Okay, so this is the psychology of it all. So you have to stop thinking about Donald Trump as a human being and start thinking about him as an old man at a nursing home who has lost his marbles and how they think, right? So I think that there's two parts of me. The one part of me thinks that all these shows need to stop saying fire Giuliani, fire Giuliani. And then the other part of me thinks that just because the Democrats are saying to fire Giuliani, maybe he won't. Maybe he won't. Maybe he will go against them. Everything that they say to do,
Right.
like if they keep on saying you need to fire him, you need to fire him, maybe he'll be like, oh, I'll show them. I'll make sure that I have Giuliani at every single show, at every single night, and protecting me. So it's a whole game in this. I mean, his head is like Candy Crush going down. Like, we don't know what's exactly going on inside of it. It's just a bunch of like marbles moving, and I mean, there's just, all he cares about is campaigning. All he cares about is winning. And that's the only reason that he wants this wall, is so he can win the next election. I believe that if he was in his second term, I don't think that he would care at all about anything. It's just the fact that he can win again. That's it. That's the only reason he wants the wall, is so he can win again. Because they think, I saw the most interesting interview last night, actually. Did you see Chris Cuomo last night?
No.
So he was interviewing a real hard Republican. I can't really remember his name right now. But I had seen him around, and he's kind of a dick. They're all dicks. I don't even like to use the word Republican. I want to use the word Trump supporter, because it's different now. Not even Trump is a Republican. So the guy that came onto his show said this number. This is the number he said. This was his quote, okay? If the wall gets built, 95% of our immigration problems will get resolved. And Chris Cuomo is very in the know of what's going on the border in terms of illegal immigration and drugs, because he's done a whole documentary down there. More than this fucking guy who's probably living in, Montana and, hasn't been to a border in his whole life. Sorry?
Making shit up. They all just make
Yeah, so Chris Cuomo said, where did you get that figure from? Because just because we have a wall does not mean that drugs can't come through tunnels, because most of them come through tunnels. Most of them come.
Over the wall. Have you ever heard what a drone is?
Have you ever? You could just throw it over, and there's so many ways of getting it into here. So if he's, so what else? So what other?
It's like medieval technology. He's using fucking medieval technology. Like,
exactly, a fucking wall. That's the best we can do. A wall. And then the guy has the audacity to say, when Chris Cuomo asked, how did you get that figure? He said, I've been around. I asked the people at border control. These people at border control, they have no idea. They stand there in their one little area, right? Maybe they have 4 miles of area per person. I don't know, 4 acres, whatever they have, okay? They have no idea what's going on around them, okay? They only know what's going on in their little area, so they shouldn't have any opinion. This is what I don't understand. There needs to be way more data. There needs to be way more people that actually give a shit and don't just want to have an easy, quick fix, because an easy, quick fix is not going to work. It's not going to work. So, I'm all for immigration, and I'm somewhere in the middle. I don't want everyone flooding into here, but I also don't want.
You know what? Let me say something. You know
Please.
What's a lot cheaper than a fucking wall, physical wall?
What?
Sensors. You just you just place a sensor every however many yards you need. That if you go through the sensor, it triggers a camera, it triggers something, and then people are out there. You don't need a physical wall. Like a laser beam, if it's broken, and it shows that someone passed by, and the camera could take a picture of the person. There's so many cheaper ways than a fucking wall.
It is so expensive to have a wall there. It's construction, it's architecture, it's city planning for nothing.
And it's also, right. and it can't be a continuous wall because it's not possible when there's water.
Things get in the way of people's property. You know,
right.
There's going to be legal disputes. It's
something this asshole came up with during his campaign. Like, he probably threw a bunch of shit out, and that one stuck the best because the most people cheered it.
Yep.
He didn't mean to make a wall, but now that he's stuck with it...
No, that's how he is.
Like,
he doesn't even know, and he doesn't know any of the figures. There's probably been tons of literature sent to him about how much it'll cost, you know, how convenient it's going to be to make, how much... you know, how beneficial it's going to be. I'm sure there's been tons of figures, and because we have a president that does not read nor listen, he does not care, and his base will vote for him, and that's the end of it. I mean...
But this is another waste of talk. We're talking about a wall, which will never get made.
No. So let's move on.
From the reality that he can't be president, he's incapable of being president. Let's focus on that.
So let's move on and let's talk about something else that really, really bugged me at one of his rallies. So it was the one that happened 2 nights ago. A bunch of people that were at his rally. I don't even want to talk about them, like who they are, because I feel like putting them on the map is like not a good idea. But let's just call them a bunch of fucking assholes, okay? And crazy, okay? They're a bunch of crazy assholes because they're not just assholes; they're also crazy assholes. They're like a cult that believe in like weird stuff. You'll see what I mean. Just look up some stuff that has to do with the number 17. Okay? They're like crazy. Anyway, not only did they disrupt, not only were they disruptive, but other people that were at the rally, everybody, was harassing Jim Acosta, who is a anchor man, you know, reporter, journalist for CNN, who's been around for a long, long time. He's actually an immigrant himself. He comes from Cuba, and he knows he's smarter than everybody at that rally combined. And they're all screaming at him and yelling at him and threatening him. So that is to be expected. But the very next day, which was yesterday, Sarah Sanders was on the podium. Thank God. She hadn't been doing a press conference. This was the 4th one that she did in like a month and a half. Like Obama used to have one like every other day. They like have almost none because I don't even see what's the point of them anyway, because she doesn't answer anything. She just says, I'll let you know, go to the outside counsel. I would refer you to the outside counsel. I'll refer you to the lawyers of Trump. Like, it's just, she doesn't answer anything. Anyway, so one of the questions by, obviously, the media in the press conference was, hey, what happened with Jim Acosta yesterday? You know, is this okay with you? Is this okay with the administration, like violence and being harassed just for doing our job? And that was her moment to say, no, we are not okay with that. Violence, physical abuse, mental abuse, verbal abuse, in any kind, for any American citizen. He's an American citizen. He pays his taxes, right? Just like everybody else. It's never okay to degrade anyone or to make someone feel unsafe. It was a safety issue. That was her moment to say that, okay? And instead, she said, well, the media has a responsibility to give out the right news and to make sure that everything is true. The whole speech about this and that, they might as well, you know, went into how it's fake news and a witch hunt, like in, you know, she just didn't have to say those words, but, you know, basically, that's what she said. Just, it doesn't matter. And I'm telling you that I am scared for all media. I think that these Trump supporters, if he gets up there and he says, hey, you see a CNN reporter, hit him in the face, they will. If he says, hey, if he says, hey, see someone from MSNBC that you know that doesn't agree with me, you know, trip them and throw them down the stairs, they will. So this is like a time they'll do anything he says. So he has a responsibility. The administration has a responsibility to keep things safe, and I don't think that's what's going to happen. And I think that they are in for some serious violent consequences, and it'll be just one more notch in Trump's belt loops. That is just another shitty thing to do. I mean, with the kids that are just down there and don't have their parents. It's just the most heartbreaking thing. And I just don't understand that. Nobody can't even tell you how upset I get with that every day. Every day I wake up, it's the first thing I think is no matter what's going on in my life or anything else that's going on in politics or anything that's going on in, pretty much anyone's life can't be as bad as those people, those kids that are locked up and can't find their parents and think their parents abandoned them. They have no other idea than they think that their parents abandoned them. And on the other side, the parents themselves, I even feel worse for. I mean, can you imagine? Like, you have a cat. I have a cat. If someone took my cat and I couldn't find it, but I knew that they were somewhere, I'd be torn apart. And this is their child. This is their baby. It's the craziest thing in the whole world. And
it's crazy. And to be separated the way they were separated, not even to say goodbye,
but no documentation. When you go to jail,
children go this way, women go this way.
Yeah, pretty much like the Holocaust. Pretty much like the Holocaust. Line them up. Separate them and line them up. And so yesterday there was a televised thing in Congress that they were talking about the separation of children at the border. And one Republican, of course, it was a woman, actually. First, it was a man and a woman, but the woman was way more heartfelt for me in a bad way. It hurt me in a bad way even more because as a mother, so the first guy, the man gets up and he says, "Oh, come on, it's like summer camp. They have soccer fields, they have football fields, they are getting a good education, they have books, it's like summer camp." And then, of course, the commentators for CNN while I'm watching this are, later on say, yeah, it's like summer camp, but the difference is after summer camp, you go home. You're free. So, that was, so one of the ladies, Republican, pieces of shit, Trump supporter, she said her thing. And one of the Democrats said, after she was saying it was a camp and it was a good experience for the kids, one of the Democrat ladies said, and I quote, "Would you send your kids to these facilities?" And she sat there and she couldn't answer, of course. And then she said, "I would," this is what she said, verbatim, "I would, but I would send them to a place that they're free." That's what she said. Free. I would, but I would more likely send them to a place that they're free. Free. Like, this is a country built on freedom, and they can't leave their jail cells for doing nothing wrong. It's the most disgusting thing in the entire world. Every day I have to deal with this. It's just, it's a very, very tough world we live in. And so I'm going to have to wrap this up. We've just been venting and I've been vaping because that's what I do every single day. Because it's the only thing that I have to talk about these things. If I don't talk about these things, I'm going to explode. And I just need the next episode that we're going to talk about things, the next podcast or whatever you want to call us that we do, we need to talk about how the Democrats are going to rectify this whole situation, because it is easy if we all talk and step up. Do you agree?
I agree.
It just feels like only a certain amount of people are stepping up. We used to have protests in the city like crazy. We used to have demonstrations. It just feels like we're getting numb to it and no one's doing anything when literally the next election is in 95 days. That's it, 95 days. 95 days goes like that.
So we have to do more than a protest. We have to act. We have to get together and come up with a tactic.
Something has to happen, and we just need...
We really need to work hard. We need to come up with a tactic. Make sure polling places aren't turning people away in November due to bullshit reasons. We really need, there's so much we can do.
Well, when I definitely, this is the last thing I'm going to say, and it's kind of interesting, and I think that it's something that I'm going to have to think about a lot in the next few weeks. I'm going to South Carolina. I'm going to Charleston. My father lives there, and it is, the area that he lives in has a very high population density, but it's also a very, it's a red area. They're mostly Trump supporters, and I don't know how to deter them. the most that I could come up with right now is maybe the tariffs. It doesn't affect them though. I just think that either one or two things has to happen. Okay, either he's got to fuck up so bad that everyone's life is destroyed financially. Maybe there's a war and kids get drafted, and it has to affect them specifically themselves. They don't care about the kids at the border, and obviously they don't care about about people outside of their world. They don't care, it doesn't affect them. Their own daughter hasn't gotten pregnant yet and needs an abortion because she got raped by the neighbor. It hasn't happened yet. So things have to happen to them specifically for change. The other thing that needs to happen, and I hope that the first one doesn't happen because I would hate for something bad to happen, although sometimes I do secretly pray for it because it's the only way we're going to get out of this mess. But the other option is if a Democrat stands up and has a clear message. Not a message that I like, not a message that you like, not a message that people in New York, California like. Something we all will just go, okay, when they're in office, we know they're going to do correctly, so let's just relax. But for now, we have to appeal to his base. How are we going to appeal to his base? Because his base is 40% of this fucking country, and it could be more. It could be more. And that's a lot of fucking people. Really, and then you have Russia meddling, hoping that he's going to win again because, he just makes things erratic, and that's what Putin lives for. Putin lives for things to be out of control, erratic. Everything used to be super organized, and we all felt the same about certain things. And he's just winning. So one of those two things has to happen. If both of those things happen, great. Hopefully the thing that is bad that will happen won't be like a 9/11, but maybe a 9/11 where no one dies. That we missed it by like an inch. They try to like bomb a building, but like a huge building, like the Chrysler building, or, well, that's not even big anymore. Like, I don't know. Maybe they tried to do the bridge in San Francisco or the Brooklyn Bridge, whatever, and they miss it by like an inch. Something has to happen like that. I don't want anyone to die. If a couple of Trump supporters die, that's not the worst thing in the world, though.
I hope it doesn't happen in New York, because then Giuliani will claim credit for it.
Well, it won't happen in New York. I think that the best thing that could happen is that something happens in Middle America, and then they die.
Yeah.
But that's not what's going to happen. It's going to be one of these ultra densely populated cities. Nothing ever happens. Like, what country wants to bomb Utah? What, like 5 people go down? Well, like a couple of horses and like 6 people go down. Maybe like a cow and a tree fall. Like, that's not what they want. They want massive destruction. So,
you hear what Homeland Security is doing?
What?
They're not checking any. They're going to make a law that they don't have to check anyone getting onto a small plane, like a 50 or less or something like that. They're not checking, baggages or anything. To save money for the Homeland Security and to focus on the bigger planes.
So these are like domestic flights?
Yeah, the small, like, puddle jumper flights.
Like people that are rich, or like literally small aircrafts that I'm taking? I mean, I'm getting on a plane in a couple of weeks. I have a stopover. My first flight, I had to choose from like 25 seats. That's a pretty small plane,
It's like 50 passengers or less, which is so stupid. They're saying, you're not going to target small planes. They want to kill the most amount of people. Well, you just fucking book 10 fucking flights on 10 separate planes. You have the same effect.
Okay, I cannot rescue everyone. I need to stay, and we need to stay focused on what matters and how to overthrow this motherfucker from government. Okay, so we're going to talk about that next time, strategies, and how we're going to get through all this together. So thank you, Antonella.
You're welcome.
And thank you, any viewer that is watching right now, and maybe I hope you've learned something, and maybe you've been vaping and venting. See you next time.